On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we recap what we heard from Brent Venables, Danny Stutsman, Billy Bowman, and Jackson Arnold at SEC Media Days. Then we talk about some of the other exciting OU football updates, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, July 17th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of July, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the best. One thing before we dive into OU at SEC Media Days. If your business wants to advertise on the podcast during football season, hit us up. The Oklahoma Breakdown at gmail.com. We'll get you all the information. Ted, we got to go right away. We got too much to talk about.
I
We can't
know.
have this thing being 2 hours long. Let's roll. SEC Media Days, Venables, Stutsman, Jackson Arnold, Billy Bowman. Let's start with what we heard from the head ball coach. What'd you think of what Venables had to say?
I thought he did good. Um, you know, he stepped up there. I think there's like a fine line right now that it's probably impossible to walk with the SEC faithful. If you come up there, like you can't like get down on a knee and kiss the ring, right? But at the same time, you can't come in guns blazing and have everyone saying you're cocky and everything. I thought he kind of matched both of that perfectly. He talked about Oklahoma's running to the SEC. We're running to this challenge. We want this challenge, and I think that's the best way to put it. I thought that phrasing was excellent.
I thought you mentioned the fine line. I thought he did a nice job of showing respect for the SEC and acknowledging the challenge ahead of Oklahoma football as we go into the conference. But I also thought he exuded a lot of confidence, man. And
Yeah.
that was one of the takeaways I heard from a bunch of people that were down there in Dallas was, man, Venables sure looks comfortable at SEC Media Days. Like he looks like he absolutely belongs. And does that really matter in the long run? Who knows? It's about winning and losing football games. But I thought he made it very clear that OU isn't going to be intimidated. And OU isn't going to back down from anyone in the Southeastern Conference. At Oklahoma football has been a big deal for a very long time. And I thought he did a really good job, especially with his session on the podium of exuding confidence, but also not coming off as cocky or a blowhard or anything like that. I thought he did a really nice job of striking that balance. And I was watching the SEC network coverage of it, and Joe Tessitore basically said, "Hey, that was really dang good. That's one of the best ones I've ever seen from a first year head coach at SEC Media Days." And I agreed. I thought that he was extremely impressive. The opening statement, let's be real, shockingly short for our guy BV. But I
You
thought he
think
nailed it, man.
you think Woody Glass was like in the back of the room with like a massive cue card or something? Like you've got
He
10 seconds left for opening statement.
he just set a clock to 6 minutes and started it in the back. It was like, this is all you get, Brent. No, but
It was good.
I thought he was, came off confident. I thought he gave them a lot of good information in that opening statement. didn't go too long. I thought it was a really solid performance. And once again, it's media day. That stuff doesn't win or lose you football games if you're the head coach. But I do think I think he made a really nice first impression on a lot of media members there that really hadn't seen him in person and seen him speak and like seen the presence that he has in person. I thought he nailed it.
Yeah. You know, there are no trophies for winning the press conference, right? But I will say this, listening to Coach Venables, and it's hard to gather much from anyone else just because we don't cover him as much, but that confidence, I feel like in the things that he talks about are a reflection of his football team. In the past, the last couple of years, whenever you ask him about expectations and you ask him about his team, often he would talk about the typical expectations, but then he'd float into how many new guys they have, like just kind of where the like how the recycle, like they flip the total roster over, and you'd hear conversations about that, and you didn't hear nearly as much about that. In fact, he was talking about 24, what is it, third year or more players are going to be on this roster. And I mean, that's a dramatic change just in framing that we've heard from him. And I think it's a reflection of what he thinks of his team.
Yeah, I think getting into what the important things he said about the football team, a lot of questions. He's got a lot of questions about how he felt about them in the trenches, which is, let's be real, that's the big question for OU this season is how are they going to hold up on the offensive line and defensive line. I thought the way that he phrased it, especially with the O line, he basically said they've got 9 to 11 O linemen that they feel can play winning football. So, with the conversation we've had around the offensive line throughout the spring and now, heading into the season, I was really encouraged by that. If you've got 9 to 11 offensive linemen that you think can play winning football, you are in a great, great position. Now, is that completely accurate? We'll see. We'll see when games roll around. But yeah, you mentioned 9 to 11 offensive linemen and then 10 to 12 defensive linemen. So he's feeling much better about the depth at the line of scrimmage. Ted, are they where he wants them to be? No, you're maybe never there at the
Yeah.
line of scrimmage, but I thought that was a really encouraging statement.
Yeah. Well, I think 9 to 11 on the offensive line. I It's probably like not any combination of those 9 to 11 guys probably gives you winning football, but I could understand that you could maybe throw a guy in as you know to plug an injury gap or something like that. But they are getting deeper. That's the one thing we've talked about incrementally. They're getting deeper on both sides, and on the defensive line, if we're talking about the edge guys as well, I think that's a legit number. I mean, I really do. I mean, you got rotational guys on the interior. You've got guys on, I don't know, you go probably 4 or 5 deep at edge where you could have, different combinations of those guys on the field at the same time. So I think that number is probably pretty realistic. And, I think that, you're always developing as a team, but, in those groups, offensive line and defensive line, there's some guys that have a chance to make a big leap in fall camp. You know, some of your younger guys, edge guys specifically, and offensive line, some of your younger guys that we feel good about. The numbers look good through the offseason, what we saw through the spring. Those guys are getting up to speed. So, I mean, that may be a little bit of a forecast and hoping some guys make some big gains in fall camp, and that's totally possible.
He he just subtly threw it out there that PJ's over 260. I
Yeah.
saw that and I just let out a little yes.
Well,
I can't wait to see what that guy looks like during training camp.
well, he's so long that he may look the exact same.
No,
You know?
no. I think he's gonna. This is how he's gonna look. Eventually, he's going to get to the way he looked as a freshman with 3 air pump squeezes. I I think we're going to be at about a 1.5
Okay.
situation where you're like, oh, it just looks like someone just kind of it's not quite the big mushroom in Mario, but it's close.
Well, he's one of those guys I'm talking about through fall camp. I expect him to be a rotational guy and have a good year. But, all it takes is all of a sudden like the light bulb comes on and he can just immediately turn into an ass kicker. So I'm hoping that those days are not too far in front of us.
Venables did give some injury updates, and most notable, Garen Hatchett being full go. That was what we expected with him coming off the ankle surgery at Washington. But I thought the most notable ones were Andrell Anthony not fully cleared. And so they're hoping he can practice before the opener. We'll see about that. In my mind, if he's back by Tennessee, you're feeling pretty good about things, right? You're hoping that in let's hope that we are just not overlooking this non-conference slate too much. I hope we are not doing that. But
Yeah.
you're hoping when the level of competition really ramps up, that Andrell Anthony, a guy that was your best wide receiver at a point last year, you're hoping he's back and fully healthy and ready to go when the games start, really cranking up. Farouk, you remember, had the broken foot during spring ball, was interesting, didn't have surgery, should be back before the first game. I think you worry less about him with how much football he's played, but it is a weird injury, an injury that I experienced. And it takes a little bit to get back, like to just build your leg back up when you break your foot like that. One really encouraging one was that Troy Everett is way ahead of schedule. Now, I'm sure that they're going to be smart with Troy, especially now that Branson Hickman is in the picture, but you got to have a backup center. Now, Josh Bates got a ton of reps in spring, just some really, really valuable time running that first unit as the center. But he is a guy that can add depth to the interior, and you can never have too much depth along the offensive line. And I'm not ruling out that Troy Everett could push to be the starter if he's completely healthy. But that was really encouraging that he is way ahead of schedule coming off that knee injury in the spring.
Nope, I agree. I agree. A good battle there at center. Push both those guys would be awesome. The Andrell Anthony thing, are you worried by that at all? Looking at the time frame, because I think we're right around 9 months right now. Used to be it was a year for an ACL. And then it feels like that timeline's been pushed back over the years to right around 8 months.
Thanks a lot, Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, no kidding. But I guess I worry that he didn't, and maybe he is doing stuff. He's just not going to be clear for practice. But I was hoping that he got Summer in on that knee to try and put it in the rearview mirror instead of just stepping out into practice. And maybe whenever the guys are already in tip-top shape, they've gone through camp, everyone is super sharp, and you're stepping out there for the first time. And maybe at wide receiver, it's not nearly as big of a deal, but I don't know. I was a little surprised by that.
I think that, it seems like when you just think about the timeline, it's natural to assume that some type of setback occurred. And when you look at, I think it would be a much bigger deal if we didn't feel as good about the depth at wide receiver as we do. But you're looking at I mean, you're looking at Andrell Anthony and Farouk not really getting the run up to training camp and the run up to the season that you want. Those were two of your starting wide receivers last year.
Mhm.
So maybe we're not concerned enough about that situation. I think Deion Burks' addition to the roster and just the way that he has looked, I think that alleviates a lot of concerns. But man, you want depth at every position, and you're just hoping that those two guys they get to where they need to be when you start playing football games. But yeah, is it ideal? No. I know that Farouk, I don't know, he's kind of, I don't want to say he's polarizing, but I think he's been more productive than the respect that he gets. He's a good football player. He is a really good football player with the ball in his hands. You want that guy healthy. You want that guy out there on the field. He also does a really nice job blocking on the perimeter. He's a veteran guy. Like you want that guy to be healthy going into the season. So it did when he talked about Anthony and Farouk, it did make me take a kind of a longer, harder look at that wide receiver position. You feel great about Burks, you feel great about Anderson, you feel good about Gibson, but then you got a bunch of young guys that haven't played much football at all.
Yeah. I guess there's another part of me with Andrell Anthony that feels like maybe it's a little bit of vet treatment to a
Mm.
degree. Like if he was a younger guy, then maybe you'd be pressing to get him into training camp. But since he's an older guy, a returner, you know, they maybe feel really good about where he is mentally, and he'll handle his business in the meeting room and walkthroughs and stuff like that, to where it's one of those guys you say, like, because you've been there in whether it's college or NFL, there's some guys where it's like it's training camp, it's like you sit on the water cooler. Like we have to have you this year. We don't need you out here running your head into a wall for no reason.
And just going back and thinking about the things that Emmett Jones said about Andrew Anthony last year, when we were doing Coach's Corner and he was talking about as Andrell was starting to be really productive, he mentioned how he went about things as a professional,
Mm-hmm.
like his process, the way that he practiced, the way that he trained. So, Ted, I think you're right. He's not one of those guys that you're worried about when it comes to how he's approaching and attacking the rehab. So it's just when you have surgery, man, sometimes things happen, man. And we'll see when he gets back to looking like himself. Some guys, it doesn't take that long, and some guys it does. So he's one of those guys that we've talked a lot about. Oh, I can't wait to see this guy during training camp. Angelo Anthony is certainly one of those guys.
Yep. No, I agree. And kind of like what you said earlier, with the talent that we've had a receiver in a worst case scenario, and you don't get Farouk back and you don't get Andrell Anthony back, as we sit here right now, I would say that I still feel confident that we're going to have a high level of talent at wide receiver on the field and still be pretty deep. Now, that's hoping some young guys come along, but the way that that room has been recruited, it would be a shock if we don't have a bunch of guys step up in those vacancies.
Venables, one other thing Venables said that I want to hit. He was on SEC Now on the SEC Network with our guy Dusty Dvorak, our guy Cole Kublik, and then Joe Tessitore was kind of driving everything. And he said something really interesting about the defensive line that got my attention. It also, I won't lie, made me really excited. He said that Ethan Downs is the only guy that's a starter. He basically said every other spot, when you talk about who runs out there first, spots are up for grabs. Ted, I kind of loved hearing that. We just kind of assume that Dominic Williams is going to run out there and be a starter. You probably assume that Grayson Halton, with his production and his twitch, maybe he's probably going to run out there at three technique first. But the other edge spot, I I really enjoyed him going, listen, Ethan has earned to be a starter. The rest of the spots are all open because you know how I am. Anytime you can create competition, I love it. And I do not think it was an accident that Brent Venables said that on the SEC network for all of his football team to hear. I think it's going to be a really, really competitive battle to see who actually starts on this defensive line. And I am all about that. Nothing is handed to anyone. Ethan Downs, oh, we know what that young man is about. Like the level of physicality he plays with. Yeah, start one of the starters at edge, but the other spots, according to the head football coach, to be determined.
Yeah, and that's what you want. Ultimately, that's what you want. You when you have a guy like Dominic Williams come in, you have a pretty good idea how things are going to play out. But I mean, just because the NIL era is here doesn't mean you hand guys a starting job, right? You got to go out there on the field and earn it. And I don't know if we jog out on game one and Dominic Williams isn't a starter. I don't know if you feel good about that or not, but um, I again I like the way the development's coming on the offensive and defensive fronts. Where we want to be, not yet, but in a much better position.
So you got to talk to all three players that were there representing the Sooners at SEC Media Days. So I'm just going to kind of give you the floor, Ted. What really stood out to you about what Danny Stutsman, Billy Bowman, and Jackson Arnold had to say at SEC Media Days?
Well, start with Stutzman since we were just talking about the defensive line. I said, hey man, there's nothing that's gonna as good as you are now. There's nothing that's gonna elevate your game more than the defensive line in front of you. And asked him what he's seen of those guys, and he's like, "Bro, have you seen Dominic Williams in person?" I was like, "Yeah." He said he is just an insane looking creature, and it just makes you feel good, right? That you got some guys like that out there right now. So, and he was talking about the linebacking group and how they've kind of come along together and right, just the difference that you have in those rooms now compared to 2 or 3 years ago. He says it's night and day because at first you couldn't turn to anyone and ask for anything because nobody knew what they were talking about. And now you've got guys that have been there 2, 3 years, and everyone that walks into the room carries quite a bit of knowledge with them, and you can get answers, you can have conversations with guys, and you can be way more prepared just kind of sitting there as you're talking about things before practice, or when you're in the locker room, or sitting around at the house. You can have those conversations, and it's not the blind leading the blind, and it brings everyone to such a higher level. So I thought that was pretty good. And he said, and I like this, that he said that they had the conversation that everyone they talk to talks about Schmitty and the standard and how you win championships through the strength and conditioning program. And he said the players got together and said, well, let's give Schmitty the best summer he's ever had then. And he said there's been some ups and downs with that naturally, which is good, but I think that is a good sign whenever the team actively is talking about, going out there and really pushing through the summer and getting better as a football program. I thought that was good from Stutzman.
Yeah, that's really encouraging to hear. And he's right. When all the old guys like us get together, that's all we talk about. We don't even really
Oh,
talk about games. We talk about workout stories.
remember the time? Yeah, there's a bunch of that going on. That was good. Jackson Arnold, I thought Jackson Arnold was good. He was talking about just working through the chemistry with the guys. They're doing a lot of stuff on their own. Feels really comfortable in the offense. I can't remember where he said this, or I don't think he said it with us, but we talked about it yesterday that um, Carson Beck had told him that Auburn is
Haunted.
well, haunted. Yeah. I thought that was pretty. I mean, that game is it's not in a good spot.
Maybe he
Not
said cursed. Haunted,
cursed,
cursed. I think cursed was the word that
cursed.
he used. Yeah, he said
Yeah.
he talked to him at the Manning Passing Academy about it.
Yeah. And when I heard that, I started looking at it on the schedule, and it's right after Tennessee, after your first home SEC game. There's going to be a lot put into that one. And you do have a bye week after it before Texas, but it's like sandwiched between Tennessee and Texas and kind of a little forgotten about, which is kind of scary. But
Did you see I I have a new respect for Jordan Air Stadium there at Auburn. Did you see what Kirby Smart said?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Kirby's been some places. Remember, he was at Bama. Now he's the head football coach at Georgia. Kirby Smart said Auburn is one of the hardest places to play in the world. So we've been told that it's a really difficult place to play. But when Kirby Smart said that, I went, well, all right then.
Yeah, they were down, I think, at either down at halftime or tied at halftime. And I think that game was tied, and they either scored a go-ahead touchdown with like 3 minutes left or kicked a field goal, something like that. So yeah, it was tight. Yeah. But I thought it was good stuff from Jackson Arnold. And he's not a like in your face, like big personality. He's kind of, he's
Kind of a chill dude.
and I think that is it's organic, it's real. When you are a true sophomore and you've been handed the keys to the program, and I I think you need to earn the confidence to a degree, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how I'd feel if someone that hasn't done anything is walking out there and has got the chest out. And I mean, it's good to a degree, but I like whenever you get confidence from having success. And I think as he goes on and moves through it, he'll gain that confidence and be not that he's uncomfortable, but be a little more comfortable in that role. So I don't know. I thought he was good. I thought Billy Bowman was good. Everything that you hear from him is just what you would expect. Leader, feels great about the secondary, was had high praise for all the safeties and a bunch of the corners. Feels good about what they're doing and their system. Body feels great in a really good position, mentally and physically.
A lot of horns down talk. Not going to be a penalty
Right.
as God intended. I. It seems like the only way that's going to be a penalty is if you take the hand signal and you're screaming right in a Texas player's face. It seems like that's the only way it's going to be a penalty, which it still should be a penalty. But if that's our new reality, sign me up. Let's go. I'm all for it.
Yeah, and like even that, the way he phrased it, is it a travesty to the game? Like, I don't know. It'd have to be pretty, whatever you're doing has to be pretty bad to be considered a travesty to the game, right?
Do you have to like flash the horns down in their face and then spit on them? That's
Yeah.
that's how
Like,
you get the
you
penalty.
have to like punch them with the horns down, like rip their helmet off and punch them in the face.
You do the horns down and then you Captain Insano them. You just poke them right in the eyes. There's your
Yeah.
penalty.
No, that's right though. And that was obviously a funny conversation and seeing that play out. We knew the question was going to be asked, right?
There was no doubt. But I loved what Stutsman said about OU Texas because it's something I've been saying since I was a player. I've been saying for years. he was basically asked about a quote that Quinn Ewers had saying that Texas is going to be everyone's biggest game on their SEC schedule or something like that. I don't think he went full Shador Sanders and said it's going to be everyone's Super Bowl. I think it just going to be a big game on everyone's schedule. And Stutsman kind of just said, yeah, yeah, like it is. When I go to bed, I think about Texas in that game. And it goes back to something I've been saying for years. It's not just another game. You don't have to act like it's just another game. It is okay for you to say, yeah, man, that one's different. It means more. And I thought Stutzman saying what he said, basically, hey, with what it means to the state of Oklahoma and to the state of Texas and to both the universities, yeah, it's not another game. It is what it is.
Yep.
And I think him acknowledging that it's one of the most common sense things I've heard a OU football player say in a long time. It brought a smile to my face to see one of the leaders of the football team go, you know what? We understand, like they all mean a lot, but that one means more. It just does. It's okay to say that. And I'm
Yeah.
glad he did.
Yep. And it's a weird spot. Like, I don't know how else you're supposed to respond to that about it being everyone else's, biggest game of the year. To say like, well, yeah, it is for me, then that's the best way out of it. I like that. And I think he understands that, obviously, and I think the rest of the team probably understands that too. And you know, we can feel a certain way, but it really doesn't matter. Like, to a large degree, it doesn't matter what the outcome of the season is, like wins and losses. We always start with, well, did you beat Texas? And then what's your record after that? So
Yeah. How many times do you run into somebody, a fan, whoever, and go, what's your record against Texas?
that's right.
It happens all the time.
Yep.
So yeah, the
That's it.
game, it just like SEC football, baby. OU Texas, it just means more. Let's go.
Yep.
I
I like that.
One other thing, I did think Harold Perkins not knowing who Danny Stutzman was funny, but then he's a linebacker. He's probably not looking or watching it, especially a team you didn't play. So, and I thought he followed it up with, "Hey, I really just focus on myself." I thought that was a big nothing burger, but people really ran with it for a second there. I I really liked some of the things that Jackson Arnold said in his media availability. I thought he did a good job of expressing excitement. He was talking about the schedule and he said, we're all super amped up to go out and play this SEC schedule. It's a tough one for sure, but we love the challenge. We want the challenge. We wouldn't want it any other way. Ted, I'm not gonna lie. You got a young and experienced quarterback projecting that confidence, acknowledging how tough it's gonna be, got the juices flowing a little bit. I
Yeah.
was amped up hearing him talk that way.
I totally agree. Totally agree. And those guys, I mean, you've gone through off seasons before, and you know what the schedule holds in the fall. And whether Texas is going to have a good football team, or you got a big non-conference game early, or whatever it might be, that schedule is always just kind of lurking in the locker room. Like, there's a conference, like sometimes Smitty will do something and bring a helmet out for a workout, like whatever it might be. Who you're playing in the season, it's always kind of lurking there. And I mean, it shouldn't. You should have the greatest preparation no matter who you're playing, right? We know that's the case. But whenever you know that you've got a schedule like they do, it changes things. It really does.
I thought what you tweeted about, because let's be real, I talked to a lot of people that are down there for SEC Media Days, people that cover Oklahoma, people that are more national people that cover the other teams. OU's not getting, they're not giving OU much of a chance. And that has a lot to do with the schedule. But I just feel like do people understand the excitement that we have just to be in this conference and like just the overall effect we think it's going to have on the program compared to what's been going on the last, let's call it, what, decade?
No, I, to me, I think I said it this way or framed it similar. Like there's a disconnect about what the Big 12 was for our program. They think it helped us because it was easy. It didn't help us because it was easy. It hurt us because it was easy. It hurt us because of the lack of players going to the NFL. It hurt us because of the lack of defense being played, at least the narrative of the lack of defense being played with no defensive players hardly getting drafted. That stuff was not helping us as a program. Like playing one big game a year against Texas and then a bunch of 11 a.m. kickoffs against non-top 25 teams, like that did not help us. Now, did our win-loss record stay really strong throughout when maybe our teams like that wouldn't equate to a 10-win season elsewhere? Yes, but again, it didn't help us because all it did is what? Cover up a bunch of flaws in the program. So I think that's everyone is saying, well, it was easy there. It's going to be different. Yes, it's going to be different. We need it to be different. We want it to be different. The players want it to be different. The fans want it to be different. That's why we're coming. Like Venables said, we're running to it. We didn't get forced into this and like, oh my God, we got called up to the big leagues. What are we going to do now? No, we've been waiting on this moment and excited about this moment. So that's the thing. It's like, well, now that it's not as easy, no. Now that it's difficult, now that we are going to have that spotlight, we have a real chance to finally put ourselves on, hopefully level playing field with the best in the country.
I think that is a tremendous way of framing it, Ted Lehman. Now let's get to call your shot. We asked you guys what stood out to you about OU at SEC Media Days. This first one comes from Camo Sooner, who says, Coach Venables showed up and showed out. He said all the right things and met all the questions head on. He carried himself with a humble confidence that all Sooner fans should love. I completely agree. Now, he kind of dodged the horns down question, though.
Yeah, I think it's probably the smart way to handle it. There will be no good outcome if he wades into that discussion. All right,
I completely agree. He said, I have no opinion on it, which is the perfect answer. But I thought what he followed up with, hey, if it's a penalty, don't do it. If it isn't, have at it. Like, I love the way that he phrased it.
Yeah, it's like you gotta kind of read the room, I guess, so to speak, right? If it's one of those games, like what year was it whenever they came out and did they give a personal foul to both teams
Oh my
before the game even
gosh.
started?
Was that
Like,
Defee? Our guy Defee?
I can't remember, but you got to read the room a little bit. If every tension's been hot and they're trying to put a cap on things and cool it down, well, maybe you don't go, double horns down in Quinn Ewer's face while he's on the ground after a sack. Okay. But maybe you do. I don't know. You gotta, well, the last thing you want to do is figure that out in an incredibly critical moment where a first down may be the game.
I'm pretty sure that was the Jalen Hurts here.
Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sure that was 19. But yes, just an all time moment with and it was Mike Defee. Yeah, Mike Defee, our guy, who I also saw Trying to slim down a little bit. Not
Really?
going to be as beefy. Yeah, I saw that on the internet. It's got to be true. I read it on the internet. Okay.
Hmm. All you do is just you order the smaller shirt. It'll look the
Yeah.
same.
Get rid of all the size you're in. This is what I did losing weight. All the double and triple X's went. We bought some cheap XLs and said, hey, fit into them, brother.
Yeah, just get the smaller shirt.
And here we are.
If you're really worried about it, get the for him, he could get like the large shirt and the medium and just transplant the medium sleeves onto the large.
The Brooks Kepka. Nice.
Nice. Is that what he does? That's funny.
We've got a lot more OU football stuff to talk about. Some exciting changes coming to game day operations. But first, get road trip ready this summer with Love's Travel Stops, your leader in highway hospitality. Download the Love's Connect app and unlock a 10-cent per gallon discount on gas and auto diesel at more than 640 Love's locations. Stock up on snacks and drinks with mobile deals and drink club rewards. I'm a drink club guy. I
Yeah.
get a free coffee every couple. It's awesome. It's fantastic.
Nice.
Forgot something at home? Love's Mobile to Go Zone has you covered from phone chargers to headphones. Love's Travel Stops is your one-stop shop for clean places and friendly faces. They sent new reads. No Java Amore on there. Okay.
Oh no.
Yep.
Okay.
I do what I'm told from the sponsors. Here we go.
Don't forget to get yourself some Java Amore. Celebrate with a Schooner All-American Ale, the official craft beer of OU Athletics from Coop Ale Works. Named after the iconic Sooner schooner that races across Owen Field after an OU score, you could join in on the celebration with an ice-cold beer from Coop Ale Works. You can enjoy it at the Palace on the Prairie, at OU Athletic events, at the bar, at the tailgate, and in the comfort of your own home. For more information on Schooner All-American Ale, visit schoonerale.com. Must be 21 to purchase. Please drink responsibly. Schooner All-American Ale, the taste of game day.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the Oklahoma-owned drinkware company and number one drinkware sales leader on Amazon and Target. Can you believe it is already time to start thinking about going back to school? Simple Modern has everything you need to get your kiddos ready for the first day. Think of every character your kiddo loves on everything they need, like backpacks, lunch boxes, and water bottles. With just a few clicks at simplemodern.com, you can be back to school ready. And with 10% of all profits going to charity, many right here in Oklahoma, you know you're helping others too. That's a win-win. That's Simple Modern. Check their amazing products out at simplemodern.com. A lot of other OU stuff. Ted, do you want to start with tailgating? Do you want to start with the Walk of Champions? Do you want to start with TV shows? Where do you want to go? Your choice.
Let's start with tailgating.
Okay. OU administration announced that they are expanding public tailgating areas for the 2024 season. Now, the most notable areas are the lawn on Boyd Street across from Campus Corner, and then basically any area around the duck pond there on, just east of the stadium. I love it. Now, I think technically from what I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ted, they gave us a map of the areas that are prohibited. Now, there are also areas that are encouraged, but I think fans can technically tailgate anywhere on campus except for the areas that are prohibited on the map. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So check the map. You got to go check the map out on the press release, people. But that's a lot of tailgating space.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the duck pond area kind of fills out. It's just kind of thinking about the real estate and the lay of the land over there. I'm just kind of curious to see what that ends up looking like. But I mean, I think it's the east side of the stadium is the natural area to congregate. There's more parking there. The campus is west of the stadium, and I still love your idea about the South Oval, but
Oh,
That's still
Ted,
prohibited.
I was it was the first area I looked at when they put the map out. And I go, oh, come on, because I have this vision. I've got this vision. The South Oval, just covered in tailgating tents, just smoke rising in multiple locations, TVs everywhere.
Kind of
People
like the
just,
Tulsa area that we walked through.
yes, which was awesome.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we'll get there eventually, right? This is just for the 2024 season. I am still optimistic that this tailgating operation is only going to continue to ramp up. And let me
yeah,
make myself very clear. I'm very excited that the administration made this decision because I think it is going to result in a better tailgating scene in Norman. But the South Oval, I'm telling you, that's it. It's right there. And people don't go to class or do stuff on Saturdays anyway during football season. Come on, you can block all that off. It'll be fine. Just cover it in tents, the flowers, the mums. The mums will be fine. We'll be all good, baby. That I do think that would be like the premium location if they opened it up.
yeah. I agree. But I think hopefully the duck pond area turns into that, and I think there's a chance that it does. And there's the spots on Lindsay that are public tailgating now. That's cool on the just south of the stadium. So I don't know. The people make the tailgate, right? So you can make any place out there great, and I imagine this year's going to be awesome. So, and the as you pointed out, and I know we're going to get to it, but the Walk of Champions kind of changes like the value of the real estate with where you're tailgating, doesn't it?
I believe so because yeah, the OU announced that the Walk of Champions has been moved. The team will now get dropped off at the corner of Jenkins and Brooks, and they will walk through what OU calls Party at the Palace. There's live music, there's food trucks, there's all kinds of things for kids. And that should result in an awesome crowd. And also, who does their pregame show right along that walk, my friend?
You could go mobile and do a play-by-play, walk in the crowd, maybe get an interview or two while you're walking in.
I'm sure Venables would love me sticking a mic in front of Stutsman's face right before they go play a football game.
It'd be awesome.
I
It'd be
would get
great.
form tackled by someone.
That is going to be cool though, and do the walk across the field. A lot of teams do that. Drop off in the kind of the opposite end zone and do a walk to the other end to go to the locker room. So that'll be cool.
Do you think it's going to result in more people listening to our pregame show? Because we've had some decent crowds over the years, but now that all the players are going to walk right in that area, I got to imagine some more OU fans are going to stumble upon us.
Yeah, I think so.
Did
And
Toby say we're going to a 3-hour pregame show?
there's some changes. I'm not clued into what exactly they are
He said it
yet.
wasn't going to change anything for me and you.
Yeah. I I I guess I don't want to say anything because I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I
Well,
really
maybe I
don't.
wasn't supposed to say anything, but here we are. What's done
Well,
is
I
done.
I don't think we can say anything because I don't think we know unless you know. I
I
don't.
I want to make something very clear. Ted and I are the last people informed of anything.
That's right.
We make zero decisions when it comes to any of the broadcast stuff. They just tell us with
Where to
very little
be.
notice, hey, this is what we're doing. And because they know we're gonna be like, all right, sounds good.
Yep. Just tell me where to be and what time I'm going on. I know at one point, and maybe this is more for like road games, they had talked about doing like maybe a studio like pre and post also, if that makes sense. Like maybe as a run up, but I don't know if that is kind of what they ended up with, or if it's just going to be a kind of a more of a mash of audio from the week and interviews from both teams leading up to it. I'm not sure.
Well, either way, with them moving the Walk of Champions, come see us at the party at the
Yeah.
Palace.
Yeah.
Come listen to our pregame show. You're not going to get any better information heading into an OU game than you get from us. You're just not. But in all seriousness, you think about expanding tailgating. You think about moving the Walk of Champions. It's all about creating a better game day atmosphere in Norman, creating more buzz on campus. And my hope is that some of these changes will translate into more energy around campus, and those people will carry that energy into the stands for the football game.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that's the ultimate goal here with these changes, is to create more excitement around the stadium. If you create more excitement around the stadium, you've got more excited people going into the stadium. Now, everyone's definition of excited is different, okay? Some
Yeah.
people get excited with different methods than others. But ultimately, I think these changes are all geared at trying to create a bigger, louder, rowdier atmosphere inside the stadium.
Yeah. And I'm curious also with like your national pregame shows with the Walk of Champions, if there's ever one happening, that's going to go like right by where they've been setting up. So that will create a pretty cool little moment. And I don't know if the timing matches up right for game day or any of that stuff, but does the SEC, do they have like their own SEC
Yeah. Now,
pregame deal? Yeah.
yeah, remember, big noon kickoff, unlikely to show up at many OU games anymore.
Right.
Right? Remember, the SEC is all ESPN,
Yep.
all ABC and ESPN. So OU fans were very, very familiar with where they set up that big noon kickoff stage there north of the stadium.
It's going to have to switch it to big evening kickoff if they're going to be around anymore, I guess.
Yeah, I just it'll be interesting to see how often Fox shows up for SEC games. I don't know if we've reached a point right in the network wars where they just go, yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe we're there, maybe we're not. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But either way, we've got OU fans. We've got the non-conference slate to get into shape for the Tennessee game. So rehearsals. We got 3 dress rehearsals, people. So find your tailgate spot. Find where you're going to post up for the Walk of Champions. Find your pregame routine. You got to be in the groove when Tennessee comes to town. You got to have everything established. No uncertainty. You got to have the routine down. You got to be ready to roll. You got to know exactly what you're going to do to be at maximum capacity heading into the stadium and for the football game. Just you got 3 weeks to figure out what that process needs to be for you to get into that stadium and make some damn noise, okay?
That's right. That's right. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot of built up energy for this season. I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be awesome. The opener is going to be awesome. I know it's a Friday night thing, but I think that has the chance to be special.
It is going to be sweet. You and we're going to get a full Saturday during football season. You kidding me?
Unbelievable.
I can only imagine how many beverages we're going to have on that Saturday.
All of them.
The Lehman pool will still be rolling.
Oh my God. You kidding me? An in-season pool Saturday? What's going on?
Oh, man. Dangerous combination. Well, one last thing that applies to OU football and applies to us too. Griffin Media announced a partnership with OU Athletics. So, just to clarify things, if you've been watching our shows on ESPN Plus, So Coach's Corner, Sooner Sports Talk, The Huddle, Sooner Game Day, those shows will still be on ESPN Plus under the SEC Plus channel. But in a very exciting announcement and development, those shows will also now be available locally on Griffin Media's channels in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. You can check the press release for all those channel details, but and they're going to air kind of late at night, so it may be a DVR situation for a lot of people. But Ted, this is awesome. And this is something that I've been saying we should do for years. So I was thrilled because ultimately what this means is it is going to be easier for more OU fans to watch our stuff. And I believe the product that we put out there with those shows, I believe, is really, really, really good. So I'm very excited that more OU fans are going to get to see it.
Yeah, I am too. It's easier. It's represented on local channels, which I really like. You know, because the ESPN Plus and all that, that's good, obviously, but it's not as easy as you would think for some people. So the fact that it's going to be on those channels, it's natural, right? It should be. It just feels like that's where we should be broadcast.
I feel like a lot of OU fans, maybe all OU fans, the majority of OU fans know how to navigate ESPN Plus now with what they've had to go through the last couple of years. But it will be nice just to turn your TV on, go to KSBI, and go, oh, hey, there it is. Here we go.
And
Let's watch.
everyone,
Let's watch Ted talk about the
yeah,
defense.
and everyone knows that the streaming television is horseshit when it comes to fast forwarding, rewinding, pausing, all of those things. So the DVR is still the only way to go. Be much better. Can fast forward right through all of our horrible takes and get to some real stuff.
I'm just going to throw it out there.
Hmm.
Would we be opposed to this here podcast being televised on those same channels? You think that's something that people would want? Maybe
Of
too much risk
course,
in it for Griffin Media.
perhaps. I don't. There's actually no risk in it. I could, dude. I've been doing radio for, gosh, I started in 2012, I think. So I've been doing radio for a long time. I could slap the radio filter on instantly, on and off.
We'll just let them. We'll just
Edit
let
out.
them edit. Yeah, we don't get loose with it very often anymore because, in all seriousness, as I have, as my kids get older, right? As my 3-year-old, I hear him repeat what he repeats all the time now. I totally get why people don't like us cussing a bunch on here because a lot of people listen with their kids in the car, and I totally get that. I think we've done a good job of being selective with our cursing. Like when we cuss, people are like, "Whoa, okay, that carries weight," which I think is an effective way of doing it. But yeah, Griffin Media, they got people that could, believe that stuff if you let the tiger out of the cage, which happens every once in a while.
Absolutely.
I think I'm just lobbying for Griffin Media to put our podcast on I had not thought of this until we started talking about it. Not on the rundown, Dad.
No,
This is an organic thought in the moment. So I don't know. I don't know what OU fans would think of it.
I like it. You may have to slap that parental advisory, like if Elaine Johnson or someone comes on the pod, but
Yeah.
other than that, I think we'd be good.
I think some people would watch it late at night.
Yeah,
I don't
why
know.
not?
I don't know. Maybe Griffin, have your people call our people. Us too. We are our people.
We are
This
our
is,
people.
this is a two-man operation. Okay, let's finish up with our. I feel like that was a shameless, just like, hey, you want to put our stuff on your channels? If
Let's start spamming them with email clips,
it's a natural thing to do, guys. It's a natural thing to do. All right, let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. But first,
All you grill masters, listen up. Didier Ranch delivers premium quality beef that is 100% raised in Oklahoma right to your front door. Go to didierranch.com, DIDIER ranch.com to order one of their premium quality beef boxes and use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Filet, ribeye, New York strip, sirloin, steak burgers. They've got it all, and they ship anywhere in the continental U.S., and Oklahomans can get deliveries in just 1 to 2 days. The only thing better than having a lot of premium beef on the O&D line is having premium beef delivered right to your front door. Didier Ranch. Tradition tastes better.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter, toasted buns, and some ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game, and with all the garage locations being open at 10 p.m. or later every night, it is the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood. T-Rexes, my 3-year-old's T-ball team,
Yeah.
team dinner, pre-game team dinner at the garage the other night. Played the best game of the season. I'm giving the garage credit.
Awesome. Attention, business owners. You need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
Well, first of all, can I say this as I was thinking about it when we were doing the ads? It would be like a Wayne's World if they carried our show on Griffin, right? Late night, Channel 52.
Why not?
Like we just need a basement somewhere. That's all we need to do.
That's all we need.
A basement stage.
That's pretty funny. Now I have ideas. My number one idea, in all seriousness, now that Griffin's in the picture, is we should have a show, and maybe we would do it in Norman, maybe we would do it in Oklahoma City. We should have a show where we take the 3 to 5 best plays of a football game and like break them down and explain them to people. And we've done that a little bit on YouTube, and we're going to continue to do that. But basically, we would take what we're doing with our in the weeds stuff and put it on television. People would love that.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. All right, who do you have as your winner of the week?
I had to go with Ohtani. The guy is, to me, just the most fascinating person to watch. It was funny. We were watching it live at the house, and I think it was Aaron Judge they were talking to out in the field, and they're like, "How about this guy? Isn't he pretty good?" And Aaron Judge like, "Yeah, he's incredible." Next pitch, just gone, just absolutely nukes one to right center. The guy's just incredible, and the swing looks totally different than anyone else, which I think is another thing that makes it kind of cool and unique. He's just such a talent to watch. I love watching the dude play baseball.
He, for just a moment, as I marveled as that nuke he hit went over the fence, he made me forget about those jerseys for just a moment. That's how good he is. That's how far he hit it. I forgot about the atrocity that was draping all of those men last night. What the hell was that?
It's so funny that you say that, because I think on that specific at bat, I was looking at the pitcher because they were showing the pitcher, before pitch, he's like doing his thing with the glove and everything. And I was like, what are they wearing out there? That is the strangest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like I get it. We don't dress up like we used to, everything is like comfort driven and relaxed. But I think t-shirts on baseball players is like, I think it's too far.
I was talking about the colors. What were the colors? I I triple checked. I was like, wait, I thought they were playing it at Globe Life. I didn't know they were playing it in Miami. That's so weird. That color scheme for the All-Star game in Dallas, someone explain that to me.
Was that like a was that a Sam? It was almost like this, wasn't it? Like the lining on the
It was like neon. There's
yeah,
some
it was
neon going on. I was perplexed by the jerseys. Perplexed.
yeah. I don't know the right way to do it, but I feel like that's not it. And that's the conversation that everyone had like at the very beginning of the season about how much the players hated all the jerseys. I'm guessing that's just a continuation of that.
I did think, having the home run derby on Monday night and then the All-Star game on Tuesday night, smart move.
Yeah.
Not having it on the weekend. It had been a while since I'd watched a home run derby in an All-Star game, but it was one of those things you're scrolling, you're like, oh, it's on. Now, I was dialing into the home run derby because of Bobby Witt Jr., former OU commit,
That's right.
Bobby Witt Jr. So close to winning. Wow. But I thought that having it Monday, Tuesday like they did it, I thought that was it had me watching when normally I probably wouldn't have.
Yeah, it was well done. It was good, but yeah, Ohtani, he's the winner. I even whenever he's, had the Tommy John just kind of DHing, no big deal. He's hit like, I don't know, 27, 28 home runs already this year, on pace to hit over 50. Just an incredible player.
Ridiculous. Who do you have as your loser of the week?
Well, I'm going back to that home run derby that you mentioned. And I know there's been a lot of talk about this, but the anthem beforehand, and I know the singer came out and said that she was drunk and she's going to go to rehab. Am I a bad person for saying that I don't buy it? I
Wow.
My
Okay.
wife
You have my
planted the
attention.
seed.
You
My
have my
wife planted
attention.
the seed. I think it was for like no who I can't remember who I heard talk about this. It was a country music singer. Um I think McAfee asked him about it. And he's like, I've turned down every opportunity that I've ever had to sing the national anthem
I
because
saw it. It was Parker McCollum.
yes, that's right. He said, if you nail it, you get a pat on the back. Good job. And it's not an easy song to sing. It's not. Especially, sometimes it's just you got no backing, nothing. It's just it's not easy. But there's like a high likelihood of a screw up and you're going to be like viral forever. So he's always opted out. I A bad performance, like I don't think and maybe there's she has fans out there. I'm not even sure. It's is Ingrid Andress. How many people searched who she is and listened to her music to try and figure out what the hell happened?
You're going conspiracy theory Ted on us.
Well, I
It
just you
I
cannot be a
am
professional singer and sing that bad. You just cannot.
yeah, especially this is the thing is normally if you're drunk, you kind of let it go.
Belt it. Yeah. We're just gonna belt this thing.
So maybe there are more substances at play here. Now,
No, I didn't think of
I
that. That's a good idea.
I am I am not going to question someone and their intentions when they say, "Hey, I'm checking myself into rehab." That's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
slippery slope, Ted. However, I've actually heard her music before, and yeah, it was whoa. It was
Yeah.
really, really bad. This is you just mentioned something. The way that you laid it out, like what Parker McCollum said about singing the anthem, I'm going to give you a comparison here. Singing the national anthem was like OU playing Kansas in football.
Yes. That's it.
You
It's like every
win,
Big 12 game we've ever had.
yeah, you win. It's like, yeah, hey, nice job. That's how it should be. It doesn't go well, catastrophic.
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 On your resume forever.
Yeah. I feel like that's the national anthem.
That's it. That's it. No one ever comes up to you afterwards like, what a show. That was amazing. No, it's the national anthem. Uh, you know, maybe it's your duty as a singer to do it every now and then somewhere. I don't know, but again, it's not easy. Dead quiet in there, no atmosphere. But that was brutal. Me and my son were actually playing the new college football game, and it was on kind of in the other room. And I was like, I was like, what is happening in there? What is this? My wife was like, she has to be joking. I was like, not a good time to joke with that.
You do not joke with the Star Spangled Banner. That is one you do not joke with. I, it's tough, man, because if she's actually, and you got to just assume she's actually going through some stuff with the post she put out there. It kind of it's kind of unfortunate because we can't make fun of her as much as we were going to.
Okay, well, I'll make fun of whoever was there with her. You have to grab your girl before she goes out there and just tell someone, listen, jet lag, whatever it
She's
is,
sick,
had a bad hot dog, something, and they'll just hit play on their standard national anthem. Okay. You can't let your client or your friend or your whoever she is to you walk out there and do that. You got to
fair,
have better people around you.
fair. Now,
Hey, if
hope she
I
gets the
ever
help she
show up,
needs. Hope she gets the help she needs, and she's
yes,
back and gets to redeem herself at some point. You have to do that, right? If you're her, you got to
yes,
go. You got to go get clean, and then the first opportunity you get, you got to get back out there, stare that beast that is the Star Spangled Banner straight in the face, and you got to go belt that thing and redeem yourself, right? I mean, that's what you have to do if you're her.
you've got three things on your to-do list. Get clean, get a new manager, go hit a national anthem out of the ballpark.
I like it.
If I ever show up to the pregame show or something in that condition, just pull the plug on me, please. I'm trusting you to do that.
Do you think that's what the people want? You know,
No, that is definitely not what the people want.
I I would do that for you. I would sacrifice the content to take care of you, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you.
Or at this point in time, as I sit on July 17th, 2024, that's my official stance. Now, if you show up guns blazing to a pregame show, first of all, that'd be very, very surprising. I may let you go just for the first segment and then say, "Hey, Ted, we gotta." Yeah, I don't think you
I
should
don't.
be
I'm
doing
gonna have
this.
to be careful. Those, I mean, that's the good thing about those 11 a.m. kicks, right? There's no chance of that. But that afternoon kick, evening kick, you got a lot of free time on your hand throughout the day. Got to be smart. Buddy system.
Buddy system. Let's get to my winner and loser. But first,
Three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they're honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
and head to opolisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. That's opolisclothing.com and use promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. My winner of the week, Nick Saban. I thought he was really solid on the SEC Media Days coverage.
Yeah.
I wondered, and I'm not surprised, but I kind of wondered how difficult is it for him to just not glow about Bama all the time and be more critical of the other programs? How is he going to make his calm demeanor like work on the air? And I thought it just worked, man. I really found myself interested in everything he had to say. Now, he learned a valuable lesson on day one. Got to have your credential, Nick. They're not letting you in without it, even when you're the most famous college football coach of all time. But which that story is absolutely hilarious. But Ted, I thought that I thought he was really good, and it made me excited for whatever role he's going to have during the season. You know what he's going to do on game day for him. I think he's going to end up being great. I'm not shocked or anything like that, but I thought it was really solid stuff from Nick Saban.
Yeah, and I think he'll get better too. You know, the old system just reboots, and whenever he walks into SEC media day, he's probably used to going into like coach mode to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? And the more he does it, the more times he's there, and I think he'll probably continue to let the guard down to a certain degree, and kind of get out of Coach Saban mode and into Nick Saban mode whenever he's doing that stuff. And I'm with you. I think he's obviously has all the right connections, talks to the right people, knows football better than anyone, can speak, especially covering the SEC right now. Knows these coaches, knows a lot of these players, has either coached against or recruited pretty much all the top dogs in this conference. So he's got a perfect perspective.
I'm not sure if it's probably a little bit of both. I think he made people in Austin mad and also made people in Austin happy because Nick Saban picked Texas and Georgia to play in the SEC championship game. And I'm sure that hurt some Bama fans deep. I'm sure that cut deep. But then on the other side, for Texas people, that quote, like the look on his face when he said, "What kind of tickles me is all these people asking these questions about how Texas always ran the conference they were in. They're not going to run the SEC." The look on his face. Now, he did add, there's a whole lot of arrogant people in a lot of places in the SEC, so you can forget about all that. So I think he was referring to, I think, the politics of the conference and kind of
I
how
hope so. If not, I take back all I said about him knowing the game better than anyone.
I just I I'm interested in how Texas fans interpreted those two things as a combination. Like, hey, he thinks we're going to play in the SEC championship. Oh my gosh, he said we're not going to run the SEC. Like, I assume that was a bit confusing for Longhorns fans, but that quote in particular did not sit well with a lot of OU people.
Yeah. Well, I you know, just thinking about that, his pick for Texas and Georgia to play in the SEC championship game. It's interesting to me, like how he arrived at that, and it just made me remember that they still haven't picked a tiebreaker.
Huh.
That's what one of the things that Sankey talked about. They have to
I,
settle on it before the season starts, but they still haven't picked how they're gonna like exactly lay out the championship game, how you get into it.
that seems problematic. You would
Yeah.
think with the season starting in what, 6 weeks roughly,
Mm-hmm.
that we'd have that one established.
And I don't know how they do it. I'm sure. I don't know if everyone, like all the athletic directors, sign off on it. If you have like a competition committee that picks it, and everyone is just kind of on board with that. I don't know how that works, but yeah, the clock's ticking, and I hate whenever this stuff like this happens because it's when you let it lets a lot of unnecessary feelings and conversation about it. Like the longer it goes, the more you feel like they're trying to tailor fit it to some scenario that they kind of see unfolding. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I do you think they're just going to do what the Big 12 did? Because remember, they've never had to cross this bridge because they've had divisions.
Right.
Remember, the Big 12, now clearly, if two teams are tied with the best record, those two teams play for the championship. But the second tiebreaker was win percentage against the next highest placed common opponent in the standings. The third was win percentage against all common conference opponents.
Mm-hmm.
So
I imagine they're going to do something similar to that. There's a couple of different ways you could do it. Head to head, common opponent, all of those things are the best. And then I think even at some point, wasn't it like if you went down another level, was it like where they were ranked, like college football playoff ranking?
there was I used to have this memorized for the Big 12 because we would talk about it on our
It
radio
was a
show
it was a talking point last year.
yeah, it was the third one was win percentage against all common conference opponents. The fourth one was combined win percentage in conference games of conference opponents. So like I think they basically phrase it as strength of conference of your conference schedule.
Oh,
So
I
it
see. Like
is
what the record of the teams you played did,
yeah, and then
or
you
teams
got
you beat.
into the next one was like total number of wins in the season. The next one was the ranking of like some random analytics thing. And then because there were seven, I believe, when you were just talking about a two-team tie. And then I believe the seventh tiebreaker was a coin toss.
Yeah. Here's how if it's not this way, it will be this way soon. Um, Head to head, record against common opponents, and then TV ratings. How many people watched you play football this year?
That
And whoever has the higher score, sorry about you. You're, if people watch, you're going into the championship game.
yeah, when you're talking about a multiple team tie, different set of tiebreakers, but it's head to head. And then I think the most natural one is record against the next highest place opponent in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
I I think that's probably how it'll be. How they haven't decided on this yet is kind of crazy.
What was the what was the difference last year? Because there was a way that Oklahoma, even though they had lost to Oklahoma State, had a chance to get in. I don't remember what it was, but was it that they didn't include head to head in there or something, or was it? It was some weird scenario. It's not worth getting it back into, but
I've
it was
erased
just
it
kind
from
of
my
fun.
memory. I've
Yeah,
erased that
that's good.
bedlam from my memory.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll see. I look forward to seeing what the tiebreakers are.
agree.
My loser of the week, Bronny James. Mm. Now he did win. I guess he did win some Call of Duty tournament. So guy must be really good at video
Hey,
games. Won like yeah
okay,
at Summer League. I guess won 10 grand with it. Good for him.
dang, nice.
That's awesome. But
Telling.
things have not gone particularly well for him in his four Summer League games with the Lakers. That when they drafted him, there was this narrative clearly they only drafted him because his dad is LeBron James. The Lakers came out and basically defended the pick and said, no, we think he's a good player. He's a developmental player. Okay. He is shooting 22% from the field in his four Summer League games. He is 0 of 15 from three. So you've got that. Things are not going particularly well on the court for Bronny James. And then the situation kind of got gasoline dumped on it with the Jaylen Brown clip, which I find it very, very interesting that they caught him saying what he said at the exact right time. If you haven't seen it, he's talking to Kaiser Gondrzik and Angel Reese. And if you can read lips, he says, I don't think Bronny is a pro.
That is the nicest way ever of saying like what everyone is looking at, right? It could have been much worse. The clip could have been,
And
right?
and Jaylen Brown addressed it on Twitter. He was like, "Hey, having your son playing alongside you in the league is a flex." I mean, he didn't
But that's it.
deny. He didn't deny saying what he said because you clearly could see what he said. But yeah, it just Bronny James is already getting a ridiculous amount of attention that he, let's be real, does not deserve with the basketball level of basketball player he is. But man, this is just, I mean, I feel like everything so far has just confirmed every thought that everyone had about the situation. And I, it's strange. I feel, I kind of feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him. I
He
feel
shouldn't
horrible
be, he
for him.
should still be in college.
No, he is where he is only because his dad wants to do what Jaylen Brown said. It's a flex to play with your son. That's all it is. It's the only reason he is where he is because LeBron James wants to check some imaginary box about playing with his son, and it says something about his legacy. He doesn't care about his son. He's going to drag him through all of this and have everyone, making fun of him and saying horrible things about him just so LeBron can check a box. It is the most narcissistic, horrible thing that you could do to your kid. I mean, you could do worse things. I'm just saying that it's only for LeBron. It's it. It is only for him.
I I thought it would have been great for him to just stay in college for another year. Even if it wasn't at USC, go somewhere else and just get better. But I
Yeah.
saw, JJ Redick, who I have an incredible amount of respect for when it comes to his basketball opinion. I saw him doing an interview where he said he thinks Bronny can be a game changing on ball defender eventually. He said he's a developmental player. But then he mentioned like watching Lou Dort for Team Canada and how he affects the game with his on ball pressure and what he's able to do as a defender. And he said he believes Bronny could be that eventually. And I was just sitting there going,
Did you reach through the TV screen and strangle him for saying that? That's
I
absurd.
I just sat there and kind of shook my head and went, so this is we're doing this. We're doing this. Like this is like you
Let me
could just
go
say, hey,
out.
it's LeBron James's kid. He wanted him on the team. Here we go. My hottest take is that Bronny James is playing the wrong sport. That's a football player if I've ever seen one. That's a safety if I've ever seen one, man. The way that he moves, his build, you get him in a football strength and conditioning program, dude would be muscled up, would look good. Like I think he's got some toughness to him. Guy can't shoot. It's hard to play basketball for a living when you can't shoot.
Now, the one good thing about this whole situation for me is uh it led me to, have you seen Awful Coaching on YouTube?
Yes.
It led me to that page somehow, and his breakdown of Bronny James, and it was so funny because it's almost like being back in a meeting room. That guy was pretty funny. And then I obviously watched about 10 clips after that, so pretty good.
Maybe it'll get better. I don't know, but
Well, okay,
it's playing
watching
out like in the like the biggest critic, the biggest cynic when this happened, like it's playing out exactly how that person thought it would, where it's just obvious he's not an NBA player. He had no business being drafted. And I don't know. I just
Well, one of the problems with it is he doesn't even play in that game, in those games in the summer league, like a second round pick that's trying like hell to make the roster. Lazy, jogging, not getting back. Like if he's going to be an elite defender, he needs to like. It looks like he's not even focusing on that. He's focusing on hoisting threes.
it would it would behoove him to start start finding the lane that if he is going to make it, like the lane he's going to live in. So we'll see, man. But to me, it's a guy in a situation that he shouldn't be in, that he was kind of pressured
Thanks,
to
Dad.
be in, that he was told, "Hey, you're doing this," and I don't know. I don't love it, man. It just feels off
No,
to me.
he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be made fun of by everyone. And like the worst thing you can have is to be told that you don't belong somewhere and you're only there by special treatment, right?
Oh, people tell me that about my wife all the time. It's fine. It's you get used to it.
Well, and I'm sure he is with LeBron James being his dad and throwing him to the wolves, but I don't know. I hope he gets better. It's not like I'm rooting for the guy to do bad. I am just mad at the situation because of LeBron. That's what angers me. And
I
there's very few spots in the NBA he is in and someone else is out, right?
Yeah.
Someone else has had the same dream.
That I think that's the thing that bothers me the most. And here's why. And I think that's why Bronny James is going to be resented by a lot of guys around the league. And I think that's why people are absolutely going at him in Summer League. Professional sports in the United States of America is supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy.
That's right.
It is supposed to be like, hey, if you're good enough, you're in. If you are not, you are out. And he may be the one guy in the league that is in when he should be out. And that is not a place you want to be.
Mm-mm.
This is and that is what that's what makes sports the best for me. Not to go too, down, get too deep about all this, but that is why I've always loved sports. You get in between the lines. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how you grew up. None of that shit matters. It's about what you do in between the lines. And that is how you are measured. And I think that the fact that what he is doing in between the lines is clearly not, he's not an NBA player, but he's going to be in the NBA. And I think that creates a ton of resentment around the league. Because Ted, you're right. Everyone's going to look at him and go, you do not belong here. And I just don't, I don't think he should be in that situation.
Well, think if you're JJ Redick, like you're like one of your first things that you've got to do as a head coach is um I don't know like how involved he was with the draft process, but here we are in summer league and he's got to walk out there and try and put lipstick on a pig and instantly lose credibility with everyone by comparing him to Lou Dort. But he really doesn't have a choice. And everyone knows that, and everyone knows that he's backed into a corner. But how emasculating as a head coach is that? Go tell everyone what they see with their eyes is not true. And whenever he knows damn well it's not also.
I think the only thing distracting people from Bronny James is what Alex Sarr did the other night. Did you see that? Second pick
No.
of the draft. He was 0 of 15 in the game. 0 of
Okay.
7 from 3, 0 points.
Okay.
It appears the Wizards have nailed another draft pick.
Okay. Ouch.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. 0 of 15 for the field, 0 of 7 from 3, 0 points for the second pick of the draft.
Hit
Could
the
have had
gym.
Reed Shepard, Washington, and you chose Alex Sarr instead. Poor Wizards fans, man. Just ouch. Birthday shout outs. Happy 7th birthday to Jack Cooper.
Happy 26th birthday to Drew Markwell.
And on that note, episode 440 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop on Sunday. Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have an awesome weekend. Till next time, we appreciate you all for listening. Do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.